Congressman Mike Collins represents Georgia's 10th Congressional District. He was in attendance at that rally with Donald Trump in Rome, Georgia this weekend. Congressman, good to have you with us, sir.
Hey, man, appreciate you having me.
Tell me, first of all, your reaction to Joe Biden making excuses for Laken Riley's killer.
Well, let's see. First of all, we call her Lincoln instead of Laken. And then we turn around and we apologize to an illegal alien for calling him illegal when he crossed the border illegal. It's a sad state of affairs. And every time he opens his mouth, he's just digging his hole deeper. The American people see it. And Lord help, we can't wait for November to get here soon enough.
But he was wrong about her name, but he was correct in assessing that her killer was illegal. And he was asked about this on Friday. He said, well, that technically he's not supposed to be here. He said, what changed between then and now? Why is Biden apologizing now?
Well, I'm sure it's his far left-wing base, Nobody's illegal. Nobody came across illegal. That way they can, I guess, say that the border's secure. But, his base is getting to him. But I don't think that's going to help.
Yeah.
It's all about politics on their end. It's not about justice. But that's okay. We're going to get justice for Laken Riley in Georgia. I can guarantee you that because we got the death penalty there.
Congressman Mike Collins, is that what you expect for her killer, the death penalty?
Well, the DA down there, she doesn't really prosecute very many people, but she has recused herself. So we'll get somebody else in there. I fully anticipate this was a brutal murder, unprovoked, downright murder, and capital punishment's deserved in this case.
You, as I understand it, also met with Laken Riley's family. Can you tell us about that?
I did, and I've had the privilege of talking to him a couple of times, several times texting as well about letting him know as we progress through things throughout the past couple of weeks. And, man, Vince, it's just a tragedy. These people, they send their kids to Athens, Georgia, thinking it's a safe place, not knowing it's a sanctuary city. And look at what happened. It's just the worst thing imaginable that you can have as a parent. And naturally, they're upset. When we talked about the bill, the act, the Laken Riley Act that we put in Congress, they said, look, if it'll just save one family from ever having to go through this again, please, do what you can, put her name on it. We'd be glad to do that. And so we were honored and privileged, had the privilege to do that. And it passed the House. That thing went to sail through the House. I don't know if any legislation's gone through the House that fast or not, but sailed through the House and even picked up 37 Democrats to go with it.
Yes, and that legislation would do what, Congressman?
Well, it on our side, it did three things. First thing, it made notice to the Biden administration that failure, due to the failure of their policies down on the border, they were directly related to the death of Laken Riley. It was their fault. And second thing it did, it gives law enforcement the ability to contact ICE when they pick somebody up. This guy got picked up 3 or 4 days earlier for shoplifting. So we just added theft into the list of criminal activity where you can call ICE, detain these people, and get them out of here, and let ICE deport them. And the third thing is, if they don't want to do that, then the state has the ability to go to federal court and get a federal judge to make sure that DHS knows what their job is, what they're supposed to do when people are harmed. So very good common sense bill.
Yes.
I don't understand why only one had 37 to go with us, but that's okay. That was a plenty. We've got some really good key people in the Senate picking this thing up.
Yes.
The Senate should pass this thing out. We ought to get it on the president's desk. We'll make sure that we write Laken in very large words so that he can read it.
I hope it does get there. But you're right about that. It is something that 37 Democrats supported this bill. But why did 170 of them oppose it? Why would they oppose an effort to hold illegal immigrants who commit additional crimes in our country accountable?
It's just the same reason, why they opposed the DUI one law the week before that. If an illegal gets pulled over for DUI, they're deported. It's just the left wing of this Democrat Party Well, it's the whole Democrat Party. They have just moved so far left in socialistic society. I mean, did you take a look at it? This is just simple matter. There is a larger problem at issue here. And it's just the disdain for law, the disrespect for law and our law enforcement all across this country. You take, for instance, that mayor down there in Atlanta, Georgia. And I have been calling on him since this happened to resign because it is illegal in the state of Georgia to have a sanctuary city. But you know what? In his infinite wisdom, he decided he was going to pick and choose which law he abides by. And until we start prosecuting and holding people accountable and get back to a nation of laws, man, we're nothing. We're not going to have a country. And I can't for the life of me figure out why some of these people on the other side would vote against good common sense legislation to help our law enforcement enforce the law.
Yeah, well, they just don't believe in our borders. They don't believe we have any right to have them. I mean, this is why they're normalizing all of it. I mean, the language that they use, this idea that somebody could be, quote, undocumented, which itself is preposterous because the federal government knows that they had Laken Riley's murderer in custody and then released him. In other words, there are documents to demonstrate that, and yet they use lies like undocumented to talk about him.
This rascal you're right, he was down at the border, paroled, and then he went to New York. He got picked up there, arrested up there, and cited, and figured he probably better move his criminal trade south. So we picked him out another sanctuary city to go to and start his criminal trade over again. He and his brother both.
Congressman, last week at the State of the Union, you made the decision to leave open a seat that you would have otherwise given to a guest on behalf of Laken Riley. You said that you did that as a memorial to her and a reminder about her death in order to prevent things like that from happening again. In your conversations with Laken Riley's family, do you get the impression that they're overwhelmed by the response, or do they want to be a part of change in order to prevent other deaths like this from taking place?
Well, I think it's more appropriate for them to answer, a lot of things.
Yeah.
They did tell me that if we could do something to help prevent this from ever happening again, please do it. Please do it. That you can feel the hurt. These are just great people. These are just everyday Americans, and just never in their wildest dreams would anything this horrific have ever happened. I couldn't imagine what they go through, and that's what. So I don't even know what to say.
Yes.
But we did. I extended an invitation to them and told them, be glad to have them, but I understand, sometimes you're better off to be as close as you can to your family and to the good Lord at that time. So
yeah,
I know we left that chair open and we're proud to do that.
Yeah, it's got to be for so many people a paralyzing tragedy. But my guess is based on what we've been hearing about them that to the extent that they're in this fight, they want to try and prevent other deaths like their daughters. And God bless them.
I think that when they get ready, they'll make a lot of things known. I think just the fact that they were at the Trump rally on Saturday was really telling of a lot of things, And, man, what a rally. Good gosh almighty.
Well, tell me about it, Congressman. Georgia, of course, is one of the most important states in the country when it comes to these presidential elections. How do you assess it right now in Georgia? How likely is it for Trump to capture that state?
I tell people all the time, we're not a purple state. We're a red state. We just got to play by the Democrat rules. And if you're going to have an election season, well, you better be out there voting early. I mean early. And making sure that everybody gets out there and votes, because that's all it is. You can say it ain't ballot harvesting all you want, but that's what the Democrats are good at doing. They're out there signing up absentee ballots and making sure they're filled out the right way and making sure that they're turned in. So we just got to turn out. We turn out to vote, Donald Trump will win this thing. Because I've had the privilege of going to Iowa, New Hampshire, South Carolina, and then this event in my home state in Georgia. And man, I'm gonna tell you what, the lines you could feel the excitement in there. I was there in 2016, but this is different. This is big. And by the time we got to Georgia, I showed up at that rally at 1:30 for a 5:30 event, and it was packed out. well over 4,000 people just in that small arena. I don't know how many outside. I mean, it's crazy. But people are excited. This is bigger than anything that we've seen. And I'll tell you, come November, the Republicans are going to have their say, and we're going to get our country back.
Yeah.
We're going to take it back.
From your lips to God's ears. Congressman Mike Collins, thank you very much for your time today. Really appreciate it, sir. And we look forward to having you back again soon.
Well, I appreciate you having me on. Thank you.
Of course. Be well.